What's up, everybody? Welcome to Light Source Engraving. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for popping in. Returning viewers, thank you as usual. Today, I think I have an educational video for you that is also fun and might force you to challenge yourself and learn something new. That being at least getting started with some basic 3D modeling through Tinkercad. I'm not going to give you a complete tutorial, but I'm going to give you one part to get started. You can complete the rest and you will have made your own stamp handle. And that should begin your journey into 3D modeling. So you're going to come out of this video with a stamp handle, and you're going to come out of this video with some settings for a 5-watt UV laser. This is a Haotian 5-watt UV laser. You can see it sitting behind me right here. And you'll get settings for that to use with the laserable rubber. I'll put links down in the description to the rubber that you can get from Amazon real cheap and make your own stamps out of it. And I'm also going to put a link down in the description for my CO2 stamp making video. So if you have a CO2 galvo, check the link down below, and there are settings, starter settings, and a complete tutorial there for you as well. With all that being said, let's just jump into Tinkercad for just a moment. Okay, so I have this Tinkercad project open up, and what I want to do is import. And there's going to be a link in the description for you to download this file. And this is a file I call stamp handle only. So you can just drop it here and import it. Once it imports, you will see that this is literally a stamp handle. So it's one that I've modeled, and I like to use it for all my stamps. Now we need a base. So decide how big your stamp's going to be. That's going to determine how big we make our base. And to make a base, we just add a cube. Let's say our stamp is 50 by 20. And then I recommend going 5 millimeters on the height. That gives it plenty of stability. I always do a radius of 1 just to give it a little bit of curvature. And then steps 20, max that out. And then we want to raise this up. So if we come around here, see, here's our up arrow, and we want it to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That way it's going to sit right on top of this base. Select them both. You can hit your align tool that way, and then align center here and center here. And then basically drag up and to the left. Select both objects, hit group, and just like that, you've made a stamp handle. Then you can select that and export it as an STL, and then print it with your printer. And that's all it takes. If you already have the stamp handle, all you have to do is make the base real quick, download it, and print it. Once you're in there in Tinkercad, you can start playing around and make other stuff, and then you can always re-import that handle if you mess something up and start over. But that'll give you a good intro into 3D modeling. Then once you've downloaded and printed that, you're ready for step 2. Step 2 is to make your text. So I have created my text that's going to go on this stamp. I have a new FFL number, and I've neglected to order a new stamp, and I thought I'm not ordering one this time because this time I have lasers and I'm going to make my own. And then I thought I have a UV laser, so let's see if we can make a stamp with a UV laser. So first thing we need to do, get your text aligned, or text in a graphic, or whatever you're putting on your stamp, and then mirror it because it's a stamp. We don't want to forget to do that. Now, draw a box, and I'm going to unlock the parameters and make this 50 by 20. Then I'm going to lock that aspect ratio. I'm just going to go over here to shape properties and give it a corner radius of 1, just so it's not a sharp corner. And then use your bullseye tool after selecting them both and make them lined up perfectly center. And we want to engrave the inverse of this. So we want this to be a black layer. So now we have our inverse of our stamp being engraved. Now we want to take the outer layer and we're going to make it into a cut layer. And we're going to do that by hitting Control D to make a duplicate and then turn it red. Once you've turned it red, we're going to do one more thing so that we have a nice clean edge. Once we make our cut with this galvo, we're going to do an offset of 0.25 millimeters, and I'm going to have it delete the original object because we don't need it, and we don't need to select the resulting objects. So a 0.25 offset, and once we have that, you'll see we have the outer engrave area, but then we have our cut line that's going to be slightly inset so that we get a nice even cut. Then we can group all this together and we're ready to run our engraving. After a fair amount of testing, I finally decided on a multi-layer engrave and then a single line for the cut. And let's just go over these settings real quick. So this is a JPT 5-watt laser source that was put together, the whole package, by Haotian laser. I'll put a link in the description so you can check them out. I would highly recommend their UV over some of the newer ones that have came out by some other companies. I'm not going to name names, but let's just say go with Haotian and you will not be disappointed. So our first engraved layer is a speed of 75, frequency of 40, Q pulse of 6.5, line interval of 0.01, and I run a scan angle of 22 degrees. I do have it set to auto rotate. In case I were to ever add another pass, it would auto rotate at 67 degrees. Our second layer, I'm going back and forth between a speed of 75 again and a speed of 100. So if you want to try the speed of 100, use this second layer, speed of 100, frequency 40, Q pulse 6.5, line interval 0.01. Everything's the same except the speed. If I were to decide that I wanted to just do 75 for both layers and maybe get a little bit deeper, what I would do is turn off output for this sublayer and then change this to just run 2 passes. That would be the easiest way. That way I'm not messing with the layer speeds. But so far so good with the 100 and the 75, so I'm going to change that back to 1, change that back to output, and we're good to go. For the cut layer, doing a speed of 10 millimeters per second, frequency of 40, Q pulse 6.5, 6 passes. I'm not using wobble, so 6 passes around and it will cut out the rubber stamp. And that's it. You can take these settings, they're example settings, starter settings. They might not do the same for your laser as they do for mine, but let me reiterate, those are for a 5-watt UV laser with a 150 millimeter lens. So 150 millimeter lens. Be sure you pick up that part too. So at this point, we are ready to actually run this job. At this point, we're actually ready to run the job. I have also tried running this stamp with and without air. I'm finding that running it without air gives about the same result, and the resulting dust is not as gummy. So the cool air must be helping gum it up and making it harder to clean. So I would suggest running it without air and with air and making your own comparison. But I'm going to run this without air, and then I'll show you how I clean it up after it is finished engraving. Alright, I'm here at the sink with my Dawn Power Wash. And you can use a nylon or a brass brush. I think the little stiffer brass works better, so that's what I'm going to use. Just give it a nice spray of your power wash. You'll be able to see the residue flying off into the bottom of the sink. Then just make sure to give it some swipes up and down and left to right, however you can get it in there. At this point, it's ready to be glued on to our stamp handle once it is finished printing. Alright, so we have our little stamp handle off of the 3D printer. And then we have our actual stamp off of the laser. Make sure it doesn't focus on my eyeballs. So now let's merge these two together. And what I'm going to be using today is some Bob Smith Industries Instacure CA glue, super glue. And I'll put a link to that in the description. So we have our stamp. What I want to make sure I do is get this glue spread out all over the actual stamp. I don't want to put too much on it, just to have a nice even coating. And here I just have a scrap piece of leather. I'm just going to use to spread it because I don't want to get it on my fingers if I don't have to. And if you have too much, just wipe it off and let it stay on that leather. Then I'm going to spray some Instaset on the back of the patch. Then we're going to do the best we can to line this up. I don't have my glasses on. And then that will set instantly, and it's a little crooked, but that's okay. So that's instantly set, and I don't have to worry about that falling off. It's nice and level. No bubbles, no wrinkles, no peeling off the edges. And that's it. Okay, now we are ready to test out the stamp for the purpose for which it was made. So, for the ATF Form 4473, you can use the hand stamp on this section. So that is what we're going to do. Make sure we're getting plenty of ink. I need to re-ink my pad. And there we go. A perfect stamp. So here we have our stamp. And it worked great. Easily done with the UV laser. I didn't have to order it, didn't have to wait for it. It's done. Links are in the description for everything I discussed. The rubber stamp material, super glue, CO2 Galvo, stamp making video, and some other affiliate links if you feel like checking those out. And also a link to Haotian laser. So you can check them out and check out their UVs. They have UV Galvo, CO2 Galvos, fiber lasers, fiber cutters, CO2 gantries. They have it all. So check them out, please. I would appreciate it. And that is all I have for today. Let me know in the comments what you learned, if anything. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, please put those down in the comments as well. I do try to read every comment and get back to you as soon as I can. And I appreciate everybody watching. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, channel members, for your support. And most importantly, everyone, have a great day. And I will see you in the next one.